Red dot.
When I get the cards over, I'll show you what to do. Punch in. Good thing. Oh, thank you. All right, guys. For those that haven't been on a stream, this is the center of the reader. Okay, there's a reader inbuilt into all these dots that will read your cards. When you get into things like away and draw games, can you please just make sure you don't stack them all together like this. But if you went to that center, there's another card, here's another card, just putting them around, and the center will pick it up.
You want them horizontal though, right? Not vertical. Is that the?
As in the draw games?
Oh no, as in like they pick them up better if they're horizontal.
Yeah, across.
Right?
If it hasn't been read,
doesn't matter.
dealer will ask you to put it. It shouldn't matter as long as it comes in contact with this. They'll pick it up.
Okay. It's just radio frequency, so it's just distance. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. All right.
You draw my hand, right?
Drumhouse not covered yet.
Sorry, so what are you doing, stud? You have to put the...
Those 5 cards.
Oh, you guys,
Drumhouse.
you guys, they read the up card, don't they? We don't have to put that.
Sorry, I don't know
manually.
that when we do the game.
It's manual because
Here's fan those for me so we can check them out.
So just put, when you get a card down, put it over there.
No. You put them all together. I don't want. It doesn't only be one at a time. You can put them all together. Just make sure they're all within that.
But they read it when they're on top of each other?
Yep. I don't want them stacked perfectly. Just overlap
like
them.
sort of
Overlap them a
overlap.
little. Yeah.
Okay.
If we haven't got it, deal or two, you can rewrite. That'd be it.
Good.
Simple.
Excellent.
Any questions before we get underway?
I was the stud entity.
Yep. Now everybody's an empty.
I just paid it.
There you go. I just saved money.
The rich one.
At least I won. It's okay, I won half my Andy back, so it's fine.
Yeah, that king versus king's hand.
All right, we are going to start this tournament, guys.
Because I was the big one.
We're on hand number 3.
Nah, you didn't technically. You made money still. Antes.
Oh, yeah,
We're just on hand number 3. Start high low. Actually, Dom. I thought we were on our own.
My chip stack went down.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do this time. I know you do it
Yeah. Start
a
at
little bit quicker. Can you do it a little bit slower? Thank you.
Just 3.
3 of hearts.
Yeah, 'cause we want to make the stream look better. Last time was
Oh
very
yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
5k ante per person. Antes will be collected and counted before a card is pitched. So if you're slow getting it in, that's what's going to slow it down. Points at you.
40, 80.
Please.
Are you ready, Aya?
Very good.
Dom.
Take time to go back.
It's been too much.
Are you ready?
Too many things.
Wait.
Welcome to day 2 of the main event for the Mixed Game Academy boys. Shannon Vanderberg, the Prince of Poker himself, putting on a 10-game mix. It's a $1,500 buy-in. This is day number 2 and the final table. 6 players remaining out of 37 entries right here at Play Live Melbourne, 129 York Street, South Melbourne. And I am in the commentary box, Monkey, alongside the big man of poker himself, Matty Gin, also known as Matty Gin and Tonic, also known as G&T. MG, how are you, boss? Good to have you join me.
Thanks, man. Good to be here.
Bit of fun here. You played in this event, Matty?
Yeah. I would love to still be on the felt, but second best option has to be right here with you commentating the action. So.
Well played, mate. So we are playing a 10-game mix here for the main event. The mix includes deuce to 7 triple draw, Omaha 8 or better, no limit hold'em, stud, stud 8 or better, also known as stud high low, no limit deuce to 7 single draw, Badoogie, also known as Balkdoogie for those people who play a bit of Badoogie, and when you try and draw to the Badoogie and you miss it in 3 consecutive draws, you want to throw yourself off a balcony. Limit Hold'em and Pot Limit Omaha Hi. Now, we are down to the final 6, so there will be 30-minute levels for today. This is obviously just the qualifiers only here at Play Live Melbourne at 129 York Street, South Melbourne. Now, I did notice that they did put up yesterday on Facebook that they had $4.7 million in the prize pool for their Play Live Melbourne Millions. So a bit of a shout out to the guys at Play Live and their staff and the crew and everything. Everybody who got that that prize pool to where it was, they did a unbelievable show over the last 3 weeks. Matty Gin.
Yeah, an incredible achievement given how young the company is, under 12 months old, and doing such incredible things in the Melbourne poker scene. So, yeah, really incredible to see.
No doubts about it. Now, we're going to get off to the action relatively shortly, but it might give us an opportunity to talk a little bit about what's happening today at 2 p.m., which I believe you're pretty interested in playing, Matty Gin.
Yeah, we'll be jumping into the dealer's choice, $650.
No, it's a $500 buy-in, 20-minute levels, 25-plus games. So eat your heart out if you like playing more than, no limit hold'em or 2-card poker. That is a 25-game choice. Dealer's choice today at 2 o'clock, $500 buy-in. We'll get some information about when late registration for that particular event finishes. As we get back around to the action here, we are playing Stud 8, also known as Stud High-Low, as you can see in the event ribbon at the bottom of your screens. The limits here are 20K, 40K, with a 5K ante. As you can see, Sonic there with a 1.395 million chip stack, alongside Jason, who, to be perfectly honest with you, I'm kind of getting sick and tired of calling on a feature table. He's made every single feature since I've been here in the commentary booth. But he's a lovely guy, and we wish him all the best, and hopefully he goes a little bit deeper than he did in the 10K Championship, where he came second to James Obst. But we've also got a couple of other crushers out there in the field as well. Brendan's out there, Jared Bullock's out there, and in seat 1, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Liam G, who just took up mixed games, I believe, a few months ago, Matty Gin, and he's made the final table here.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show how transferable the skill set is. If you're a good, solid tournament player, you're able to sort of come in and transition into the mixed games, just sort of exploring the concepts and applying just general tournament logic, knowing when you need to tighten up or, start accumulating some chips and those sorts of things. I think it is really transferable and, yeah.
Yeah, good shout. Now, for those people who don't know what Stud High-Low is, now, Matty, I know you've played a ton of Stud High-Low. It's probably one of your favourite variants. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
All right, well, maybe for the viewers who are just logged in now, talk a little bit about Stud High-Low and what they need to try to achieve to win pots in this particular game and take down this trophy.
Yeah, for sure. So all the stud variants are 7 cards. You're essentially playing your own board, unlike No Limit Hold'em, where you've got community cards. Everyone's playing their own board. We need 5 unpaired cards lower than an 8 in order to make a low. Sometimes you'll find the pot being scooped to someone that wins both the high and the low, or if no player qualifies for the low, might just obtain the high. So that's essentially the game.
So like Matty Gin said, you want to probably be starting, have a look at this for Laird Jehu. Yeah, why not?
Sure.
Starts with 5s in the hole with a 5 up. Starting with trips here. And he's going to complete to 20, obviously, as Jazz folds the 3 to a straight flush in clubs. Sonic's going to put that in the bin. Tim Masters also back in there. He was on a feature table earlier. I believe he might have been playing the main event, actually, for the Play Live Melbourne Millions, where he made the feature table, or at least was down to the final 2 tables. I remember calling some action for Tim Masters as Jason decides to come along with 7-6 in the hole and a 6 up. Off to 4th Street now, Matty Gin.
These paired cards that are sort of 2 to a low and another low card are really convertible. You get to play them both ways and see how your board sort of progresses. And if you end up making 2 pair, it's often really disguised. You've got a board that sort of represents like you're going for a low, but you might have you might pick up another 6 and be able to sort of disguise the strength of your hand and scoop against a high board.
Yeah, well said. As the 8 of hearts comes out on 5th Street and the 3 of clubs, no help to Liam Jehu, who is rolled up with his 5s underneath and a 5 showing on on 3rd Street, I should say. So it's going to go bet from Liam Juhu on 5th Street here, and action back onto Jason, who I believe has called sixes and shooting for an 87 low at the moment. Still needs some cards to come to complete that low. He's also behind, as you can see, as the ace peels off for Jason on 6th Street. Now shooting for an 87 low as Liam Juhu picks up a 4 of clubs on 6th Street. He obviously cannot make a low, as discussed by Matty Gin just before. You need to have 5 cards less than 8 that don't pair for you to give yourself an opportunity to shoot for the low. So Liam obviously shooting for the high only as he comes out for a bet here on 6th Street of 40K. The limit's up in the top left-hand corner. This is hand number 3. Limits are 20K, 40K, with a 5K ante paid by all players prior to the start of the deal, and a 5K bring-in as the 9 peels off on 7th Street, and a 6 actually for Jason. So Jason's taken away the lead from Liam Juhu, picking up a 6 on 7th Street and actually outdrawing Liam, who started off with 3 5s. But eat your heart out, Jason. Great start for him as he picks up a 6 on 7th Street there, Matty Gin.
Yeah, don't worry about the low when you can just pick up another 6 and absolutely scoop the entire pot.
And Liam obviously can't go anywhere. He's going to have to bet these 3 5s, which is a monster hand in stud high, let alone stud high low. So he's going to come out with a bet here. He might decide maybe just to check it, but he doesn't. He comes out for the bet of 40K. Let's see what Jason decides to do. Obviously, Liam Juhu showing in his up cards 3 cards to the low, so he might just decide to call, which he does. Jason's going to show him the bad news, picking up the 6 at the river, or on 7th Street, we should call it. 6s over 5s. And Jason going to take a decent-sized pot away from Liam Juhu there, Matty Gin.
Yeah, Jason's relatively new to the mixed game streets, but given his results and playing a few hands with him in the 10K and this main event yesterday, he's definitely picking it up really well. Quite difficult to navigate against in later streets. Sometimes not sure which way he's going to go, but definitely competent and seems to be enjoying the games a lot. Yeah.
As we see that Dean William Stacey coming in clutch on the Facebook Live chat. We appreciate all the viewers that we get on across all 3 platforms. I believe that Twitch, we are still having a few technical difficulties with Twitch. We have had them over the last few days. It's just a connectivity issue between our software and theirs at the moment. So we are live currently at the moment on a 20-minute delay on Facebook Live and on YouTube. So if you want to watch the conclusion of this $1,500 main event brought to you by Mixed Games Academy, Shannon Vanderberg, the Prince of Poker himself, the guy who made the comment, she's there, iconic in this game. He's the guy with the fedora, the bow tie, and the suspenders. You'll see him show up occasionally during the stream. He's the big man who put on the show here in conjunction with Play Live Melbourne at 129 York Street, South Melbourne. Maybe you can call the action here for me if you don't mind, Matty Gin.
Yeah, we're seeing the 5 bring in here. So in stud high low, the lowest card brings in. So aces in this game are considered high for that purpose, but they can obviously be used for the high and the low. So we got the 5 bringing in here.
Stud 08, the high low, obviously the lowest card in the first up card shown on all players' boards will be the person who is forced to make a bring in. They do have 2 options. They can either bring it in for 5K, which is the size of the ante, or complete it up to the structure, which is obviously 20K, as you can see in the top left-hand corner. So most people usually just bring it in for the ante. Gives them the opportunity to act last, so to speak, when the action goes back around to them. Gives them all their options available. And very rarely do you come across a hand like we had before with the rolled up 5s of Liam Juhu, who probably in that position, if he was to bring in, would probably elect to complete there with rolled up 5s. Don't you think, Matty Gin?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. You sometimes want to disguise the strength of your hand.
Sure.
If you're coming in for a complete, maybe you're sort of capping your range a little bit and saying, I've only got a big pair or being rolled up in this spot. But if we just bring it in, we sort of leave the options open to, maybe we've just got 2 other small cards. Maybe we've only got another little pair and a 5.
Sure.
So we can sort of play a bit of an uncapped range and sort of see how the board progresses on later streets and try and get some value.
Comments from the super coach right there. Matty Gin, also known as Gin and Tonic, G&T, or MG. Now, actually, how do you pronounce your surname, Matty G? And we did have a conversation with Party Tricks, who actually joins us here in the commentary booth, sitting to the right of us at the moment. That's the big man, Eugene Portland. But how is it actually pronounced? Because I do call you Gin and Tonic, but I've heard earlier this morning that maybe I might be wrong with that kind of pronunciation of your surname.
No, that's okay. The gin and tonic rolls off the tongue a little bit better, but I think no, it is gin. Everyone gets it mixed up one way or the other. I respond to both. Doesn't bother me either way. So I think the gin and tonic will remain.
As we've now changed the game over here, I believe we are playing. Can't quite see it from the. Is it deuce to 7 maybe?
Triple.
So yeah, so we're playing no limit deuce to 7 triple draw. So Jazz at the moment drawing one smooth just quietly. He can make number 1 here. He's obviously going to have to pitch the ace of spades. But if he picks up the 4 here, he's made the wheel in this game. Now the idea of this particular game is you want to make the lowest hand possible that doesn't complete a straight or any ranking poker hands. So obviously deuce 3, 4, 5, 7 is the nut low, also known as the wheel or number 1 in this particular game. And as you can see, Jazz drawing for number 1 here in a pretty healthy position. But I believe it looks like we still got action going on here, Matty Gin. I can't quite see from the chips. Is Jason or Sonic in there? Sonic folds. Tim Masters picking up the 5, 5, 4, 9 queen. And a raise from Jared Bullock there is going to take that one down with a 1 draw to the wheel, which is a monster hand pre-flop, Matty Gin.
There's absolutely no better feeling than playing mixed games and having such a smooth draw to a wheel, and when you manage to peel that last remaining card you need, there's just no better feeling.
No doubts about it. As I've done that to you in the final series last year, in triple draw, I drew 5, then 4, made a 76. You made an 8 smooth, and yours truly took that event down. And you're still a bit livid about that.
Yeah, you don't have many draw 5s or many draw 4s out of the big blind, but each to their own. It's always fun playing in the draw streets against you. Always mixing it up, but I still lose some sleep over that one.
As Peter here picks up 3 cards to the wheel with a king jack in his hand, he's going to fold under the gun. Round to Liam Juhu. Very pretty looking hand, but obviously awful in this particular game. And have a look at Jazz here. Picks up the 86. Jesus, have a look at this for a hand. He's picked up the 86 smooth, just quietly. And smooth Jazz, as we might be able to call him. Okay. So as we can see, Jazz picking up an 87 smooth dealt, if you don't mind, which is an absolute monster in deuce to 7 single draw. Obviously, this isn't triple draw. It's a single draw game. No limit, so you can bet whatever you've got in front of you, if you wish. As Sonic here on the button has picked up the ace-10 and 3 cards to that wheel with a 7-3 deuce. He's going to fold on the button. Tim Masters not picking up a hand, so Jazz might be able to pick this one up uncontested there, Matty Gin.
Yeah, I think just for the viewers at home, you really want to be just drawing 1 in a lot of these spots. The gameplay does play quite tight. You don't have many draw 2s. You might against like a button open and you're in the big blind. If you've got the 2-3-7 that Sonic had, you might elect to defend that from the big blind. But a lot of the time we want to play fairly tight and want to be drawing to sort of jack lows or 10 lows or better sort of thing. Is essentially what we're looking for. So any sort of single draws to those sort of hands, we would expect these players to be in the action.
Jazz obviously padding his 86 smooth, which is an absolute monster in this particular game. Dealt doesn't even have to draw a card as Brad Goose comes in there with the, looks to be the John Cena kind of WWE look. Green cap and green shirt on. Jason took 1. Unfortunately picked up the worst card in this game, which is any of the aces that play high, they don't play low. So he's made a ace-10 low, which is obviously no good. He's going to put this in the bin after a bet from Jazz, who stood pat with these 86. That's an absolute monster of a hand. I know I've repeated myself a few times, but not very often do you pick up an 86 smooth on the first deal. So Jazz picking up some chips there. He's now up to 13 chips, 44 bigs, 885k to his name. Plenty of playability here with these chip stacks and the blinds currently. Matty Gin?
Yeah, definitely. Not a lot of these players very short at all. Peter with only a few big bets instead of big blinds, so a little bit less navigation in these limit games. A little bit more in the no limit games. So we'll see how he goes here. Position something that's super important in this game, specifically single draw. Getting to see if your opponent's drawing before you make your decision is super powerful. Sometimes you can have hands that are convertible and you can play both ways. You might have a Jack 7 and if your opponent pats, you might elect to draw to the 7.
Yep.
But if your opponent's drawing 1, you can just stay pat. So getting to see that information before you make your decision is super insightful, and means playing the button and playing in front of the button is super important.
Good shout as Brad Goose hits the chat, says it's Boston Celtics, bud, not John Cena. I know he's a huge Boston Celtics fan. I was back in the early 90s when I was still around watching basketball. Got to see the rear end of Larry Bird's career. And the Boston Celtics obviously second best team or third best team, maybe fourth now. I was a big Chicago Bulls fan and they're garbage at the moment, but Michael Jordan played for the Chicago Bulls and I'm biased as hell when it comes to Michael Jordan. So shout outs to Chicago Bulls, the team of the century, if not the centuries to go. As we get back to the action here, Tim Masters picking up, look at this, a Jack Smooth here, just quietly for Tim Masters. A Queen 9-8, 4-3 for Liam Jehu, and Peter's picked up a couple of 7s to go along with his 3-2. He's obviously can be drawing to a 10 low if he decides to draw 1, but he's deciding to elect to draw for 2 here and try and spike this wheel. It's to find a 4-5 that would give him the nuts. Also drawing to a 7 there, Matty Gin and Tonic.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Tim 3-bet this from the button instead of just calling. His hand is super strong and he gets to play it as a convertible, like I just mentioned before. Gets to play the button, gets to apply some pressure to these other stacks. Interesting to see him just call and try and navigate this. Might be trying to induce the short stack in Peter in the big blind.
Tim Masters here deciding to stand pack with his Jack Smooth. So can Peter and or Liam Jehu pick up cards to outdraw the Jack Smooth? Liam obviously going for a 98. He's drawn 1 here. Just deuce to 7 single draw, no limit. So you can bet whatever you've got in front of you as opposed to triple draw, which is a fixed limit game. Peter not improving, unfortunately. I believe he's picked up another 7. Although I feel as though the cards haven't quite shown up here. So we might have a small technical glitch because I believe he started with 10-7-7-3-2. So those cards have not appeared, the draw cards that they drew to. Liam Jehu shaking his head a little bit there in seat 1, so obviously he didn't pick up his 98. And Tim Masters is going to take that bad boy down with a Jack Smooth. Like he said, a bit of a monster here. Not as big, obviously, as Jazz's 8-6 Smooth, but still a very good hand there, Matty Gin.
Absolutely. Definitely a hand you love to look down on when you're on the button in this game.
And you stand pat there too, just in terms of combinatorics
yeah, for
and
sure. I think when
equities.
When it goes 1-1, it's a bit of a tough spot instead of being heads up. When it's heads up, it's a slam dunk, just pat. But I think when it goes 1-1, it makes it, trying to beat 2 players makes it a little bit tougher. But I think patting is going to be fine. Might have our players drawing to a worse jack at times and that sort of thing as well. So we get to keep those hands in.
Probably one of the faults that I have in deuce to 7 single draw is I always like to shoot for the nuts, even though I know that the jack's most likely going to be good. I'm just one of those guys who likes to squeeze up cards, Matty, as you've played with me numerous times before. Get a little bit of a smile from Eugene Party Tricks in the com box with me. He knows I like to squeeze up cards, so I probably just throw the jack and go for the nuts and then pick up a pair and my hands turn to absolute garbage, but it's just the way that I like to play the game.
Yeah, squeeze up some cards or throw them off the balcony one way or the other. Right?
We do have a pretty good story about throwing cards off balconies. I did that once in a cash game I was playing in a high-rise building. And the following day, I went down to Five Guys to go and pick up a burger, and I found the Jack of Diamonds right there on the street, on Queensbury Street. That was from the night before.
Just to live it all over again.
Yeah. Actually walked straight down there, and she's there. The Jack of Diamonds just sitting right on the street. Did give me a bit of a giggle. Probably shouldn't be throwing anything, for that matter, off the balcony, but I think given the action in that particular hand where my full house jacks went down, I thought, well, a little bit heated. Might have to send them off the balcony. So apologies to whoever was running the show at the building that I was in it when I did that play, but somewhat deserved it.
I think it's one of my favourite stories. Just absolutely seeing the card the next day just to rub it in.
Mate, just to rub it in. And I giggled too as I walked past. I went, that's the Jack of Diamonds from last night. Couldn't find the other 4 cards that went with the Jack. They're obviously stuck on top of the other building adjacent to the building that I threw the cards out of the balcony from. But like I said, did deserve it when the Jacks went down in flames. MSP joins the chat. MSP, obviously, Amanda Star Pike. She's been in the chats, railbirding almost every single stream from get-go. She's got the 3 votes, Maddie Gin, from us here in the commentary box, and that from Maddie, from Berkey, I should say, who's caught up with a couple of things today, so he won't be joining us in the combox. However, we will be producing a couple more You Can't Make It Up podcasts. Next one coming out most likely next Monday after the Super Bowl, where I believe we're getting Jason and Simon Shaheen to come in after the Super Bowl for some Can't Make It Up stories. So that should be a bit of a laugh and a half as we get back to the action here. We are still playing Deuce to 7 single draw, and Matty, you can call the action here if you don't mind, whilst I take a sip of some liquids.
Yeah, I think it's Sonic picking up the 3-3-5-5-6. It's interesting to see what it'll do in this spot. These type of hands where you pair a number of the low cards, they do act as blockers from your opponent. So it's obviously less likely that they have hands that contain these sort of cards. So does elect to open it in this instance. Definitely can't blame him at all. Worst case, we come up against some resistance and we draw 2. That's not a problem. Or we can elect to part, play our hand with some strength. So.
Just quickly, for those people at home who don't know some of the more elite plays, if you could explain to them what snowing is. I know that we've had some comments over the last day or so about people snowing. Can you explain a little bit about the idea of snowing a hand and where you should? Is Sonic's hand a snowable type of hand or not really?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a candidate for sure. You can definitely play it either way. We could play it as a draw 2, or we can play it as a snow. Essentially, snowing is just another term for a bluff in the mixed game streets. For whatever reason, the mixed game players have elected to come up with a new term for bluff. But essentially, we're trying to find candidates in our hand that essentially stop our opponents from having those cards. So when in this sort of game, having lots of 8s and 7s and 9s and those sort of hands make our hand a candidate to snow. If we have 3 9s and an 8, it's very hard for us to have a real hand.
Yep.
But removing those cards from our opponent's hand is really strong. So electing to bluff with those sort of hands is definitely an option as well.
There you have it. Perfect description of what a snow is. There's obviously the Queen 9964 from Tin Masters. Under the gun goes in the bin. Round to Jason, who folds. We haven't got his cards up on the stream there. Round to Peter, who's on the short stack. He's only got 10 bigs. He's going to fold.
We've actually seen Liam move into the shorter stack position. Definitely hasn't had the run of cards. We obviously saw him lose the stud 8 hand with the rolled up 5s to Jason early. See him not complete his hand in single draw and then lose the blind on blind jam from Peter in the single draw game. So he's gone from second or third in chips at the start of day's play to last, which is obviously not the run you want in a FT like this.
Does pick up a couple of blinds and some stuff there, so some extra chips there, I should say. So you can see his VPIP 40%. So I think he might be coming second last in chips at the moment. We are 6-handed. For those people who have just logged into listen to me, Josh Monk, aka Monkey, in the booth with Matty Gin. This is day 2 of the main event, brought to you by the Mixed Games Academy. Shannon Vandenberg, the Prince of Poker himself, the big man, stands about 6'3" tall, wears the black on black ensemble with the bow tie, the suspenders, and the fedora. It is his signature look. He's going to be out there on stream sporadically throughout this stream, I would imagine. And shout outs to the big man Shannon for putting this on. Also shout outs to Play Live for having him host his events here at Play Live Melbourne, their headquarters here at 129 York Street, South Melbourne. As we've now changed the game, it looks as though we've gone on to Omaha Hi low, maybe? Badoogie, pardon me. Badoogie at the bottom of the screen. So Badoogie, for those people who don't know what Badoogie is, also known as Balkdoogie, the object of this particular game here is to try and make 4 off-suited cards in your hand as low as possible, with ace, deuce, 3, 4 being known as the wheel or the nut Badoogie, or number 1. So if you've got the ace of hearts, the deuce of clubs, for example, the 3 of spades, and the 4 of diamonds, or any other variant where all 4 cards in your hand are off-suited, with the lowest being ace, deuce, 3, 4, is the object of this particular game. What are really good Badoogies outside of obviously the nuts? Are you trying to pick up, like is a 7 competitive, is an 8 competitive? It really depends on the action, I know that, but in general, what's a very competitive hand here, Matty Gin?
Yeah, I think what people tend to underestimate is how incredibly hard it is to make a Badoogie. You'll often find that people start going crazy, drawing to tens and jacks and those sort of things when you end up getting to showdown and you end up in Badoogie. If no player has a Badoogie, the best 3-card hand wins. So you really want to start with a solid 3-card. This sort of hand from Liam is a prime example. The 3, 4, 5 with the queen. I expect we'll see him to go with this and play it as a convertible. So start with the Badoogie, apply some pressure, and if we see some resistance and someone padding in front of us, they've likely got a Badoogie better than a queen. We can pitch the queen and try and improve. But yeah, starting with that solid foundation of 3 cards to a really solid Badoogie means that we can often end up at showdown with the best hand with neither player making a Badoogie.
It's going to be pretty interesting how Liam decides to play this. He has put in the 3-bet, 250. Peter's obviously going to draw 2. He's going to keep the ace of hearts and the deuce of diamonds. And he's actually put in a 4-bet. Okay, sure. And he's put Liam basically to the test here for all of his money. Peter's going to draw 2 here and see if he can outdraw the queen Badoogie, like you can see bottom left-hand side of your screen. All 4 cards are all offsuit, which is the object of the game, to make a Badoogie. But he does have a queen Badoogie. It's a decent Badoogie, but not great. So let's see what he does. He decides to stand pat. He's going to let Peter try and outdraw him as the first draw. It is a triple draw game. So Peter will have 3 pulls at it to see if he can improve on his ace deuce. As the card should appear up in the RFID reader shortly. As Party Tricks leaves the commentary, but he might be back a bit later on to give some special comments as he slams the door shut behind him. Matty Marshall has joined us in the chat, calling on this game to be called Balkdoogie, and Patrick Russell's also in there, sure. The big man, Paddy Russell. There's some support for Liam Jehu from MSP.
I think a little bit delayed on the graphics here, but it looks like Peter's moved to a 1 draw here.
He's going to throw. Yeah, good call. Are we up to draw number 3 here? Or?
I believe we're on draw 3 now.
Yeah, you can see from the cards. So this is the last draw, last pull, we should say, for Peter. And it looks as though... I'm not sure what's being shown, but he taps the table. And Liam Jehu looks like he's picked up that pot there. So Peter eliminated now in 6th. Now we do have some information about the payouts here If you just bear with me for one moment as I bring up the photo I took earlier. So 6th place here, picking up $3,835 for their efforts. That was Peter, who got eliminated by Liam Jew, who patted that queen there. Matty Gin, probably what you would do as well. Or would you try and draw there and make a better one?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'd, especially when we see our opponent draws 2 in front of us. I think we're just patting the queen. As I said, very hard to make a Badugi. If we see our opponent pat, they've probably got a Badugi better than us, so we can pitch the queen.
Yep.
But I think we'd start with pad and see how the hand progresses from there.
Sure. I might try and get the guys down in the studio, if you can hear me. Obviously, you can, to put up the payouts. Now, I know that will be 20 minutes later, as we are on a 20-minute delay for those people, and or post them into the YouTube chat and pin it there, and that of Facebook Live as well. I do have the payouts in front of me. I will get to them shortly as we get back to the action here. We are on Badugi. As I mentioned before, the object of this game is to make... You are dealt 4. You got 4 draws and trying to make the lowest Badugi you can. Badugi being all 4 cards being offsuit to each other. So, for example, ace, deuce, 3, 4 with the ace of diamonds, for example, deuce of spades, 3 of clubs, and 4 of hearts would be a Badugi, like what Liam Juhu had last hand with the queen. All 4 cards being offsuit. That is classified as a Badugi. That is what we're trying to achieve in this particular game. As Patrick Russell says, hello, Monkey, how are we? We are kicking goals here on this Saturday afternoon. Jin is in the box, yeah. Now, the funny thing is Mega Shin Lee, who's jumped into the YouTube chat there, said, how did Brendan Hedger become Sonic, lol? Maybe do you know anything about
Not really.
the origin of that?
Yeah, I think it's come from tricks. I remember.
Sure.
Yeah, I remember it
Makes
becoming a thing at one of the other MGA series up in Brisbane. But good to see Brendan being a good sport about it and has just embraced it with open arms and loves the name. So good to see Sonic here with the chip lead on the FT.
Oh, Sonic. We might try and figure out that the origin of that maybe during the break or whatever. We might go down there and find out exactly if Party Tricks comes back into the commentary booth. Maybe he might have the story behind calling him Sonic. But he's the Dan Mayer, Diamond Dan doppelganger with a ponytail. Looks unbelievably similar to my good mate Diamond Dan, who was in the box with me calling the action on day 2 of the 10K Horse Championship. That was correct, a 10K Horse Championship, Matty Gin. Absolutely unbelievable that Shannon was able to put that on. And shout-outs to Shannon, who put on a 10K event. It was the first time, I believe, in Australian history that a 10K horse had been streamed in any capacity. So they did a phenomenal job down here at Play Live, and obviously Shannon getting together the players, completing a field of 17. We did get 37 entries into this particular main event. Did you shoot 1 bullet or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or what?
just the one in the 10K.
Okay.
Yeah, copped a bit of a bad beat and ended up 25K from the 200K start. And then absolutely ran it back up to 400K, and then when you would have seen me on stream for a little bit, and then was no longer in the tournament shortly after. So got to ride that train and enjoy that. Actually, not only the first 10K streamed in Australia, it's actually one of the first 10Ks horses or mixed game events played in Australia. So definitely props to Shannon for getting this one up and running.
There you go. Dominic Parker is downstairs doing the stream. So we're going to do a bit of a shout out to Dom Parker, who has flown in from interstate to help out Shannon with the mixed game series that he's had on. So a bit of a shout out to Dom Parker, who's doing a phenomenal job. First time on the stream today. So working all those technicalities out with Matty Marshall to bring this feed to you today. As we get back to the action here, Jason picking up the 10-10-6 ace. 2 cards essentially. I can't imagine he's going to keep the 2 10s. He might decide to keep one of them and draw 1. Liam Juhu picking up the 6-6 ace deuce of hearts. He's going to fold that. Jay's going to fold his hand round to Sonic. Origins still to be decided upon on that nickname. He's on the big blind here at the moment. It's going to cost him 50K to call. He decides to call. He will obviously be pitching the 2 sevens in his hand, keeping the 5-3.
Similar to single draw, position is just so important in this game. So you'll often see a lot of button opens because trying to play Badoogie out of position, you're up against 3 draws where you've got to make the decision first. Every draw is really tough. So you'll often see players opening pretty wide from the button. Often with a 2 draw, they might have like a ace deuce, deuce 3, 2-5, 3-4. Those sort of combinations. We'll probably start opening those from the button just to apply pressure to the out of position players.
Sure. As you can see, some of the players do get up mid-hands to use their phones. There's no phones allowed on the feature table for some obvious reasons. We want to keep the action going as fast as possible, but we also don't want any interruptions of people using their phones and or listening to the stream whilst they're playing on this feature table. It's just one of those extra pieces of integrity that we bring into the game and to make the viewers at home, or produce, I should say, a better show for the viewers at home by not having them interrupted by the use of their phones at this feature table. As Sonic here betting out the 5-5-3 deuce, which is quite interesting as Jason can't pick up anything else. So Sonic's going to take that one down, even though he had 2 cards to a Badoogie. He actually got no help on that first draw. And we're off to another hand, I believe, of Badoogie. How many hands are they playing on the feature table here per game? Is it six?
I believe it consistently 6 now that we're sub 6 players. I think it's 6 minimum. I think maybe until heads up and then they go to a smaller number. I know that Shannon has run that in some events. I don't know what he's doing for this particular series, but I think we'll expect to see 6 of Badoogie.
As Migs89 comes into the chat on YouTube saying Sonic the Hedgehog, his last name being Hedger, would probably be the link.
Sure.
It's it could be right, as Alex Too Well also comes in there and says, "Go Sonic," with an exclamation mark. So a couple of people in the chat, a bit of support for the Hedgehog himself, Sonic, whose real name is Brendan. Nonetheless, get back to the action here. If you don't mind calling it for me, Matty Gin.
Yeah, see Liam here open up the 4-5-7-8. Obviously, mostly opening up the 4-5-7 rainbow. Tim in the big blinds, the ace 4-9 of hearts. I expect to see him defend and probably draw 2, I would think. Ace 4 just good enough to be defending the big blind with. He has enough chips that he isn't super short. Likes to pass this one.
Really quickly for those people at home where they've got in brackets there 17 big bets. Obviously that's incorrect. According to limits in the top left-hand corner, that's been counted on. This is one of the technical issues that we have had streaming, actually, the limit games and the horse games, and obviously today's 10 game, that when we put the stacks into play, for some reason, it brings the small blind or the first limit into play. Hence the reason for why it looks like they've got more big blinds in play, but they don't, or big bets in play. So probably a better way of looking at it is just halve those numbers that are in brackets, or even better, just look at their chip stack and you can determine that from the limits in your top left-hand corner of your screen. Just one of those little features that we're still ironing out. A couple of bugs in downstairs. Correct weight there, Matty Gin?
Absolutely. Yeah, these players, what you'll see with the mixed games is you'll tend to see the players playing the no limit variants a lot tighter than you would expect in a straight no limit hold'em tournament or a PLO tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And then the limit games play quite big. The blinds are adjusted to accommodate for that, but you will see that a lot of the guys that are used to playing limit tend to play them fairly conservatively. I would expect that Liam is probably finding a lot of comfort in the no limit and pot limit streets, given that that's his game of choice. So would expect to see him pretty active in the no limit hold'em and PLO variants.
Yep. Good shout there from Matty Gin.
This one obviously limit hold'em. So will play with the fixed betting structure, small bet on the flop and pre-flop and big bet on the turn in the river.
Jason flops top pair and now made 2 pairs on the turn, but Jazz does pick up the nut flush draw and a gut shot to the straight. His outs in the top right-hand corner of your screen that you can see. He's got 9 pure outs to take this one away from Jason. Jason at the moment out with the lead. Obviously with kings and sixes now hitting the 6 of diamonds on the turn. Here comes the river down and dirty. Can Jazz find one of those outs? Unfortunately, he can't as the jack of clubs peels off at the river. Jason with the check mark next to his name. Jazz missing all 9 outs there. And obviously Jason is going to feel pretty comfortable with that run out, to be fair, considering he does have 2 pairs. And here comes the lead. I don't think that Jazz can call with top pair. Jazz is the guy in the top left-hand corner of the screen with the black cap on. Jared Bullock is his name. And he's a bit of a crusher in mixed game stuff.
Absolutely.
Doesn't mind a complain too, just quietly. He doesn't mind complaining.
I think that goes with the mixed game territory. I think we all like to complain when things don't go our way. I think it sometimes feels a bit more brutal in the limit streets when you're just never making a hand because you don't get to get it all in. You just nurse a short stack for extended periods of time or that sort of thing. But no, look, Jazz definitely likes to complain. But look, he's one of the more competent players in the country.
No doubt.
Full respect to him. I've lost many a big bet to Jazz in the cash game streets and definitely on the tournament table as well.
And I can concur that I have done exactly the same with Jazz over probably a good part of 7 or 8 years. He's taken plenty off me. Getting back to the action here. This is Limit Hold'em, as my co-pilot here in the commentary booth, Matty Gin, has alluded to just before. Raises on the button. Jason in the small blind finds a pair of 10s. He's almost certainly going to put in a 3-bet here, I'd imagine. He just decides to flat. Okay, so he's going to trick it up and potentially let Liam Juhu come in here with the Michael Jordan, the deuce 3 of clubs. So they're going to cost him 1 small bet to continue. So he's going to limp in. So we're going to have 3-way action here, Matty Gin. So I might get back to the complaining comments in a second because I know somebody who loves that. And have a look at this for a flop for Liam. For Liam Juhu. Sure, coming in from the co-pilot here. It's Liam Juhu flops bottom 2 pair out of the big blind. Jason's obviously going to bet his overpair with a pair of 10s. Back round to Liam Juhu. Flopped it basically. Matty Gin, I should say. Absolutely Gin on the flop with 2 pairs, deuces and 3s, or 3s and deuces, depending on how you look at it.
Interesting to see Jason just call this out of the small blind and then decide to lead this flop. I think really start sort of capping our range a little bit. I don't think we'll see many floats from Tim here, but given the pot odds you get when it's only just 1 more small bet on this street, I can get behind a float as well.
Yeah, I agree. He also has that gut shot to make the wheel. Actually, at the moment, if you have a look at his cards, he's actually made a 5 Badoogie. We were on Badoogie a few before with the ace of clubs, deuce, 3-5, but obviously we're not playing that game as the queen of diamonds peels off on the turn. Jason in a world of hurt at the moment against Liam Juhu's bottom 2 pair. Jason first to act out of the small blind. Can he find another bet here, or is he going to check it and let Liam do the betting for him? Here comes the bet, 100K. Like we said before, it's 50K pre-flop, 50K on the flop. And then the big bets come into play on 4th and 5th Street, also known as the Turn the River. So let's see what Liam decides to do here after facing a bet on the turn from Jason. I'd imagine he's probably going to put it in a raise here on this particular street with these 2 pairs.
I think
there it is.
A lot of players will like to just call the small bet street and then raise the big bet street to start applying pressure on the later streets to really start accumulating chips and applying some pressure. See, this puts Jason in a tough spot with now an underpair to the board. Does like to come along. Needs a queen 10 or a 5, as you can see at the top right hand corner, as the ace peels off the big Barry Greenstone, the ace of spades, I should say, from space
on the river there. No help to Jason, who's going to check it now. Liam's obviously going to, I'd imagine, bet this out for value. Not many fours in Jason's range, and could be calling here with check. He does check it. He's going to show him the 3-2, so doesn't go in for any value there at the river. Happy to take his equity and take down the pot. Liam Juhu all of a sudden up to 1.2 million or 12 bigs. I know it does say 24 bigs, but we told you guys in chat before the reason for why in brackets those bigs are slightly inaccurate. It is taking the small blind into consideration as opposed to the big blind. Now, let's go on to what's going to be kicking off a little bit later today. I know that you're very interested in the dealer's choice starting at 2 p.m. today. That is a 25 plus. You heard that correctly. More than 25 poker variants starting today at 2 o'clock. It's a $500 buy in 20-minute levels here at Play Live at 129 York Street, South Melbourne. So if you guys like to play mixed games or eat your heart out, that's the dealer's choice, 25 plus games that you can choose from in that particular game as Brian Nguyen takes a seat in the dealer's chair. Brian actually working the entire Play Live Melbourne Million series. Going to finish up in a couple of days' time and then fly all the way up to Townsville and do that series. So he's going to go back to back. And that means he hasn't been home for a good part of 6 weeks. So big shout out to the hardest worker probably in poker, Brian Nguyen. And then at 7 o'clock later on tonight, if you don't mind following the action for me, Matty Gin, whilst I talk about what's happening at 7 o'clock tonight, the Omaha rotation.
That sounds like it's got your name all over it.
That has got, we might as well call it the Josh Munker rotation because I will almost certainly be playing that tonight at 7 o'clock. Unless, of course, I get caught up with some commitments at home. Yours truly will be here playing the Omaha rotation at 7 p.m. We'll talk a little bit about Omaha as we get back to the action here. This is Limit Hold'em. Been 3-bet by Jason with the Ace-10. Back around to Tim Masters, who raised it up. As you can see, the blinds have now gone up here, or the limits, I should say. 60K, 120K, hand number 19, Matty Gin and Tonic.
Yeah, I see Tim opening up the 9-7 of diamonds here. Pretty standard so far here with the button electing to 3-bet here.
It's kind of funny because Jason found the 10s in the small blind the hand before and elected not to 3-bet, but he's going to come in for a 3-bet with Ace-10 here. As Tim Masters doesn't pick up any part of that flop of King 5-3 Rainbow. Tim Masters going to check his option. Back around to Jason on the button, in position with his Ace High. Tim Masters needing to find one of those 5 outs, top right-hand corner. We are down to 5 players here in the $1,500 main event. Here comes the turn. Brings in a gut shot also for Tim here. So Badoogie out on the board, as you can see. Tim Masters now picking up a couple of extra outs. 3 more to make it 9 outs. He can make the best hand with a 6, 7, or a 9. Jason doesn't have any pair on this particular board, but he's out in front there, Matty Gin, with his Ace-10. How would you play this hand?
Yeah, I think for Tim, it's a board that we can now elect to either check or bet. Try and see the river card. I think I would personally like to see a bet and then fold if we get any sort of raise or resistance. If we just get called, we can see if we make our hand. But we can elect to take down like a lot of boards that our opponent hasn't connected with, even the combinations that they do decide to 3-bet.
Tim Masters there missing the lot as Jason hits another ace, I should say, at the river. Was it Ace of Spades on the last hand and now the Ace of Hearts on this particular board as Jason takes the commanding lead and cannot lose, obviously. With the check mark next to his name. There's a comment coming in from Mega Shin Lee in the YouTube chat. What is your game of choice, Matty Gin?
Yeah, I think I started as a Raz player. I think a lot of people, once they have their introduction to mixed games, find Raz very, very comforting and very straightforward. And I think I was one of the people that fell into that boat. And I think for me, the transition into stud 8 is a natural progression from there, getting to play like a bit of Raz and a bit of stud as well. As we see Jason take down this pot on the river with a bet and a fold from Tim. I think I think I'm probably more known in the mixed game community as more of a draw player, and that being where I'm very difficult to play against. But I think my game of choice is absolutely stud 8. So
There you go. So stud 8 from the big man, Matty Gin. Now, you'll be playing in that dealer's choice if you get the opportunity. Is that correct, Matty Gin?
absolutely, I'll definitely be in the mix. I have been enjoying playing a lot of Badesi and Badusi, which we don't see a lot in a lot of the 10 game rotations and that sort of thing. They often mostly appear in the dealer's choice. Prince obviously has some exceptions with some crazy mixes in his schedule sometimes, but I think I think I'll be picking those games a lot. They tend to make a lot of other players uncomfortable, and I tend to find myself quite at home there. So if you're on a table with me, you'll see me picking the Badesi and Badusi quite a lot. So
There you go. So if you've got Saturday afternoon off and you want to come down to Play Live here at 129 York Street, South Melbourne, Dealer's Choice game starts at 2 o'clock. It's a $500 buy-in. 25 plus games to choose from. So eat your heart out, poker lovers, with basically every game variant you can possibly imagine up to your pleasing and your choice for that matter. So if you want to come down and bust Matty Gin, he'll be here playing at 2 o'clock in that Dealer's Choice. He might be a fraction late because he's calling the action here with me in the commentary booth, but he said to me he will see this one out, or it becomes a bit later in the afternoon that we get a conclusion to this. He might leave the commentary box, go down there, shoot a couple of bullets and give some value to some outside players coming in who want to stack Matty Gin like yours truly right here. Love to be able to do that at least once in my life, as Liam Jehu picks up the aces. Yeah, sure. And he decides to raise it, makes it 120 from the button. Great spot to have him. Aces on the button. Sonic here in the big blind with the King Jack. It's going to cost him 60k to call. Definitely a hand you want to defend with.
yeah, the way the limit structure works in limit hold'em, you're heavily incentivized to call the big blind a lot. So I would expect to see defenses in essentially 80% of the hands. So pretty wide, even wider than no limit hold'em. So just because you're able to float the flops a lot for very cheap, you get a very good price on the flop. So I would expect this to go check to Liam to continue betting, and a float from
Sonic
for the small bet. We should be seeing a lot of floats out of the big blind with 2 overs here. It's only one small bet, very small, as we see 60k into 330. We're getting such a good price just to see another card here. We can make our decision on the turn once the limits increase to the big bet size. But as we see Sonic not go anywhere here.
Perfect commentary from the box here, Matty Gin. He's called the action exactly how it has played out here as the 8 of diamonds peels out on the turn. Obviously no help to Sonic, who's now essentially drawing dead in this hand. He can win it if he decides to put a bluff in, but I can't imagine the bluff will go through Liam Jehu very often, considering he is holding the nut pair of aces. Absolutely camouflaged to wall hell.
Tommy asking in the chat, how do you master the 25 games? I think just some insight there is that all the games are essentially built off either a stud game, a flop game, or a draw game. And once you have an understanding of how to play the stud and the draw games, everything's just a subtle variation of those games. So we see triple draw in this particular mix. Ace to 5 triple draw is essentially the exact same game, but trying to make ace 2 3 4 5 instead of 2 3 4 5 7, so you can make straights and flushes in that game, but the gameplay in itself is very similar. So once you have a grassroots understanding of stud and draw, and most players obviously come from a hold'em background. Usually they have enough insight to sort of adapt to these other variants pretty easily.
Good call. As we're getting a little bit of a note in from the studio, stacks are slightly incorrect, but we'll be doing an update on them shortly when we get an opportunity to do so. So just bear with us as the studio makes those adjustments shortly. Thank you all very much to the audience who have joined us for today's action. This is the $1,500 10-game main event brought to you by Mixed Games Academy, Shannon Vanderberg, Prince of Poker himself, who was just on the feed a second ago wearing the fedora, that bow tie and his trademark suspenders.
When are we getting to see you in the bow tie and the suspenders? That's what I want to know.
Actually, as a matter of fact, I did do some poker operations for another company recently where I thought I would give a bit of a shout out to Shannon and wear the black suspenders.
Beautiful.
Couldn't pull them off as well as Shannon does, but bit of an homage to Shannon wearing them. I couldn't quite pull them off, as Shannon's got a much sturdier body shape than I do, so it looks a lot better on him.
It's definitely there's only got to be a small percentage of the population that can pull off the three-piece combo, the fedora, the bow tie, and the suspenders.
I would safely say that I have never seen many people being able to pull off that trifecta, like you said before, but Shannon does it with class and style, for that matter. Just so funny. Anyway, we get back to the action here. We are still on Limit Hold'em, as you can see from the event ribbon at the bottom of your screen. 5 players left in this main event.
I've seen Shannon in the airport with a standalone like fedora box, like purpose-built fedora box, multiple caps and fedoras. I mean,
so a professional, a connoisseur, I guess you could call it, a connoisseur of fedoras. As the action gets folded around to Jason, who picks it up with a 9-4 in the big blind. No action in that particular hand. Now, getting back to the payouts, which I believe the guys down in the studio are going to help put into the YouTube, or pin it into the YouTube chat and that on Facebook Live. I can tell you this much for free. I do have the information in front of me. So 5th place will pick up $4,310. 4th place will pick up $5,270. 3rd is $7,190. 2nd place, $10,000, $540. They're a bit of extra cheese on that 5-figure score. And 1st place that they're all playing for is $16,775. So each a hard out, $16,000. So out of 37 runners. So I love what Shannon's done here in terms of the payout structure. Obviously paying the top 6, with Peter going out in at 6th position, picking up $3,835 for his efforts over the last couple of days. Pretty decent hit. Not too bad.
Not a bad day at the office, for sure.
Yep. I didn't pick up $3,835 over the last 2 days, so he's got my number. As we've now moved over, pardon me.
I think you might get that for first prize in the Omaha tonight. So
we've now moved over to Pot Limit Omaha. For those Omaha lovers, a 4-card game. One of my favourites, but also an unbelievably tilting game, because most hands, you'll see sort of a top set versus the nut flush draw versus a wrap or something like that, and money just goes in. And
just some nonsense in general, right?
as Goose there in the background wearing the Boston Celtics, yes, 100% good call by you. Some complete nonsense. Talking about nonsense, this is the flop of absolute nonsense. It comes 8-6-5. Nobody's picked up a pair. Liam's picked up a draw to a straight at the rag end. Obviously, he can hit a 3 or a deuce or a 7 for that matter to make his straight, as the ace of clubs comes in on the turn, hitting Jason, who goes out to the lead at the moment with just a pair of aces on the turn there. Matty, gin and tonic?
Yeah, Liam has sort of become like a very solid PLO player. Just spent some time with him in the tropical Bahamas, where he was absolutely in the mix in the two, fired 2 bullets in the 50k PLO. So I expect him to be extremely competent in this field. PLO, one of my personal worst games. I don't know why I struggle so much. I need some tips. I need some coaching or something.
Don't ask me, man. I've got no idea. I just like flicking cards in. As MSP comes into the chat and says, yeah, Dom pushes it with the bow tie. I have seen, pardon me, Dom wear the bow tie throughout this Mixed Games Academy series. And you know what? I'll give him 6 out of 10 stars for wearing the bow tie, but obviously can't pull it off as well as the big man Shannon Vandenberg himself does. And MSP coming in with another piece of comment there, I should say. Love to hate PLO. Couldn't agree with you more. It's a love-hate relationship most people have with PLO, just because it is an extremely tilting game, Matty Gin.
I just struggle so much with the fact that how bad can I ever be? How bad a shape can I ever be? I have 4 cards.
Very true. The equities do play pretty close to each other, but it's usually a cooler or a setup type of situation where your money gets in. Like I said before, top set versus a nut flush draw and a wrap or something to that is usually what gets the money contributed into the pot the most. As we get back around to the action here under the gun, Sonic picking up the ace, king, jack 7 suited to the clubs with the jack 7. We'll talk a little bit about the Draw Maha coming up at 7 p.m. and maybe, Matty, you can talk about Draw Maha. It's one of my favourite games, but you've got the melodic tones in your voice to be able to talk to the audience at home about what Draw Maha is all about.
Yeah.
And I'll just nod along in approval.
Simon Shaheen or Wahesh, as we know him in the mixed game streets, is introduced me to Draw Maha just as I was getting involved in the mixed game space and instantly fell in love with it. It's a split pot game where you're playing the 4 cards that are, or the 5 cards that are physically in your hand. So if you might have ace, ace, king, king, 3 in your hand, you're playing 2 pair in your hand, and then we'll run out a board like regular Omaha where you use 2 cards from your hand and the other 3 from the board. So split pot between those 2 components. So you will see, some scoops with having a good 5 card combination in your hand and one that's connected with the board as well. That's what we're aiming for. The second Draw Maha variant in this rotation is deuce to 7. So essentially the single draw variant that we see in this mix here, the deuce to 7 single draw, we're playing that and also trying to pair that up with the board as well. So single draw in your hand and Omaha on the board for that particular variant.
So just out of interest, for those people who don't know quite how the draw happens, does the flop come down and then the draw, or draw before? I mean, I already know the answer, but I'm shooting you a Dorothy Dixon question at the moment, a little bit of a rhetorical one, but
no, that's okay. Yeah, no, we get to see our cards first and then see the flop. So we get to see if our hand has any strength before we see the flop coming out.
So there's obviously a round of betting on the flop, and then you can draw in that Draw Maha rotation. So see the flop. There's a round of betting, and then you get to draw for the turn in the river in Draw Maha. Now, that is a Draw Maha 2 combination mix. So it's Draw Maha, sort of like the standard variation of Draw Maha, which the big man, Matty Gin, next to me has just informed you all how to play. And then there is a deuce to 7 Draw Maha. So obviously in the deuce to 7, you're trying to make a deuce to 7 hand in your physical 5 cards that you hold in your hand. And hopefully if you can connect that with the board, you have scooping potential, but that is also a split pot game. That's on tonight at 7 p.m. $500 buy and 20-minute levels right here at Play Live Melbourne headquarters, 129 York Street, South Melbourne. As we are back around to Pot Limit Omaha, as you can see, Jason with a rundown. 9-7-6-5. And he's up against Liam's aces, and the flop comes down. Queen, 4 deuce, 2 diamonds. So Liam Jehu picking up the nut flush draw with his overpair, and Jason flopping the gut shot to the straight. He needs a offsuit 3 to complete that straight. As you can see, Jason's got 3 outs, top right-hand corner of your screen. Any Munko 6 in the 25 game today from CK. Tell you what, I might go down there and speak to Shannon during the break and see if we can add in a Munko 6 game. I don't know if you know what Munko 6 is.
Absolutely do not, but I'm sure I'm about to find out.
You will absolutely love this variant. I came up with it one time at a home cash game. It's for the D-gens out there. I named it after myself for a bit of narcissism, but nonetheless, it was a game that a few people chose when we were playing Dealer's Choice. Liam just asking how much is in the pot there, as Jason comes out for a bet of 120k on this particular board. Again, this is pot limit Omaha, so you can raise it to the value of the pot maximum. It's not no limit. You can only raise it to the size of the pot. as Liam decides to call here. Pretty obvious call. Over pair in the nut flush draw. Here comes the turn down and dirty. It brings in a 6. So now Jason has picked up an up and down draw and a pair on the turn. And Liam's actually hit that 6 also on the turn here. Liam's still out in front, but Jason's picked up a bit more equity here on the turn. As you can see, 9 outs, top right-hand corner of your screen. 5 players remaining. The limits are 15-30 with a 30k ante from the big blind. Not sure if that's applicable in... Well, it is applicable in this particular game, Pot Liam Omaha. They've got an ante in the Pot Liam Omaha games. I haven't played in the event, so I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so ante in the Pot Liam games. Yep.
Yeah, not included in the pot calculation.
Sure.
Pre-flop,
Yep.
included post-flop.
Yep. Some other poker operators out there don't have antes in PLO, but I'm a big fan of having antes in PLO. Just speeds up the action a little bit more and drives people to play a few more hands pre-flop and obviously get closer to getting a winner faster. It's Jason, like I said here, picks up a pair and the up and down draw on the turn. He's going to lead out for 260k back onto Liam Juhu, who has the overpair and the nut flush draw. And hitting a pair of 6s on the turn, but obviously he's playing his aces in his hand. You know, a fairly difficult situation, but I'd imagine he's going to call here. Just counting down his stack, seeing what percentage of it it's going to cost him to call here and how much he's got behind to potentially call another street if Jason decides to barrel one more time on the river. What would you do here, Matty Gin? Facing a better 260k?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely no competent PLO player, but I can't see us folding.
Yep.
Definitely think we'll be at least coming along in position.
Which is exactly what he does. So here comes the river down and dirty. River brings in the King of Diamonds. What a gin card for Liam Juhu, who picks up the absolute stone cold nuts at the river. Check mark next to his name. Jason, I would imagine, might have to shut down here as he's missed his draws completely. Only has a pair of 6s on the board, and Liam Juhu, who had the lead the entire hand, has now locked this one up completely. Check mark next to his name. He's made the nut flush. I'd imagine it's going to go check from Jason and a bet from Liam. I can't imagine Jason finding a bet here, especially when the King of Diamonds peels off at the river, which is definitely in the range of cards that Liam Jehu could have in his holdings. So he has elected to check here. Back round to Liam Jehu. He must be licking his chops right now, knowing he cannot be beat. He has made the stone cold Nestle Quicks at the river. Nestle Quicks being the nuts. Pot here, 1,085,000. So pretty decent sized pot here, Matty Gin.
Interested to see what size Liam goes here. I mean,
Is he going to polarize it and go for the lot, or is he going to try and bet for value?
Yeah, I think this is where I get a little bit stuck in PLO, when to value bet and when to bet pot.
Sure.
I feel like the only words that ever come out of my mouth are pot. So interested to see where he goes. With Jason, if these chip stacks are correct, only has about a half pot behind. So wouldn't be surprised to see Liam just go all in here.
Sure, as Adam Burke joins us. Berkey, the big man himself. Shout outs to my co-pilot for the You Can't Make It Up podcast. Adam Burke is in the chat there on YouTube. The big man himself, he says he's coming in hot for tonight's Dramaha. So I'll be seeing Adam Burke later on tonight here at Play Live 129 York Street, South Melbourne, for that Dramaha event at 7 p.m. tonight. As it looks like we've had a slight technical difficulty here. I believe that Liam Jehu bet 275 at the river and Jason folded. We are stalled a little bit here on the camera, so it might catch up shortly for those people at home who are trying to figure out why the feed has somewhat stalled or is buffering here in the background. Tommy, obviously a big Berkey fan, saying, Berkey the president. I'm one of Adam Burke's closest mates, and it's like a brother to me from another mother, who has called the action actually all last week in the booth. Hopefully you guys in the chat had listened to some of the absolute boobers that we were talking in the commentary over the last couple of weeks and enjoyed our telecast. we put on for the Play Live Melbourne Million series that was completed on Tuesday of this week. Nonetheless, the big man Adam Burke coming in later on tonight. So if you want to bust Berkey, he'll be in here for the Omaha rotation, like I said, at 7 p.m. tonight. $500 buy-in, 20-minute levels. As we do apologise for the technical glitches we are having on the stream at the moment. Can't call the action, but it gives us a golden opportunity here, Matty Gin, to talk about Sunday, the 8th of Feb. Now, Sunday, the 8th of Feb is the big game, the Poker Players Championship. It's a one-day event starting at 11 o'clock in the morning. It is a $3,000 buy-in, 30-minute blind levels. That is the 9 game, and we'll just go through those games whilst we're trying to pick up on the feed on the screen. So if you wouldn't mind just checking the screen out for me, Matty, as I do a bit of a shout-out to, and a mention, I should say, to the big game tomorrow. So that's starting at 11 o'clock tomorrow, 3K buy-in, 30-minute levels, 9 games in that rotation. That is deuce to 7 triple draw, one of my all-time favourites, the game that I busted Matty Gin out of in the finals, and I'm going to keep saying that all day long in the commentary box with you, Matty, just to put you on a little bit more tilt. The deuce to 7 triple draw, Omaha 8 or better, also known as Omaha Hi Low, no limit hold'em, stud, Raz, stud 8. A lot of those games being played in this particular mix. No limit, deuce to 7 single draw, fixed limit hold'em, and PLO.
Yeah, so we're essentially running this the same mix that we're watching here, with the absence of Badoogie. Will definitely be missed in that rotation, but it does mimic the Poker Players Championship that we see, the 50K at the WSOP, the most prestigious prize in the mixed game streets. So definitely a good structure. One day, 3K buy-in. Can't really ask for much more on your Sunday afternoon.
Totally agree with you. And again, guys, for you guys watching who might be interested in coming down here to Play Live to play that event, it does start at 11 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. So it is a early start for poker players who usually like to get up sometime in the afternoon to come and play. So you might have to get to bed early tonight to be able to come in and play that at 11 o'clock. Obviously, there is late registration till much later on in the afternoon. However, we'll get that information to you shortly. And then at 6 o'clock tomorrow night, Sunday the 8th of Feb, the Hitman, the Brett the Hitman Hart,